This is how moving abroad saves me $2,000 per month. I've been able to dump money into investments every month, which has been starting to really become a wealth building machine. So here, December 30th, I sent $900 to my brokerage. November 26th, $800, then $200 to my investment account. Same thing, October 24th, $750, $250, October 16th, $1,000. And these are all just some deposits I sent to my investment account from my business bank account. Moving on, I made some more deposits from my personal bank account as well. You can see in November, I sent $250. In December, I sent $500, then $250. Then again in January, I sent another $250. And this video isn't theory or what you should do. This is how my own monthly expenses changed. So if you make money or work online, listen up, because your income is a superpower. Your income stays the same, but your cost of living, lifestyle quality, and freedom can 5x just by changing countries you're living in. So I didn't leave America because I hated it. I left because I discovered something crazy. And that's the fact that I could upgrade my entire life without making a single extra dollar. When I was living in America, my car insurance was $200+ a month. I was spending hundreds of dollars a month on gas, and then eating out was ridiculously expensive, a real silent wealth killer. A simple meal for two at a restaurant was $40 to $60, then slap 18% tip on top, plus sales tax, just insanity. I'd be burning money ordering food, overpriced junk, high delivery fees. I'd be paying like a $5 plus delivery fee, plus tax, plus tip, plus the cost of the food. And then if I had moved out of my parents' house to another American city, I'd be paying $1,500 plus a month in rent just to live in an okay area. And my business was thriving. I was making pretty insane money for a teenager, multi-5-figure months, pretty much straight profit. When I was making this money and spending money, I started to seriously question my expenses. I was making good money, but it didn't feel like I could afford an upper class lifestyle. I wasn't living in some luxury apartment. I wasn't even driving an expensive car. I was still driving the car I bought for like $2,500. And of course, I was still living with my parents because I didn't want to have to commit to paying high rent every month. And on paper, this should have meant that I was saving a lot per month. But in reality, the money wasn't exactly stacking the way I expected. I realized that my money wasn't disappearing in one big expense, it was being drained slowly. Going out to eat constantly, paying inflated prices for food, spending money just to keep up socially. I was falling into heavy consumerism without even realizing it. Buying designer clothes I didn't actually need, buying cool gadgets that felt exciting for a week, then turned into complete junk lying around my room. None of this felt irresponsible at the time, it felt normal, but over time I realized something important, and that's even with good income, living in a high cost environment quietly pushes you towards spending more just to feel like you're doing well. Let's go over my car costs in the US versus abroad. So car payment, I bought a car for $2,500, but in reality, this is probably going to be much more for you. Car insurance, I was paying $200 a month. Gas, I was paying anywhere from $300 to $400 a month. I was driving a lot. And then maintenance, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a year. However, I was probably spending a bit more than this because I was buying car parts and upgrading my car. And then in Europe, I pay $180 a year for a transport pass. This gives me access to trains, buses, trams, metro. So $180 per year is $15 per month. So I'm paying $15 per month and getting access to unlimited, amazing, fast transport all around the city. And in the US, public transport is often seen as something for people who can't afford a car. Yes, in New York City, a ton of business people take the metro, but generally speaking, buses in towns are really only used by people who can't afford a car. But in most of the world, it's the opposite. Public transport is clean, fast, reliable, and often the best way to get around the city. I can get almost anywhere I need to go faster than driving without traffic, parking, or stress. If I were to go from my apartment to the city center by car, it's such a pain. You have to go through traffic, then when you get to the city center, you got to pay for parking or find a spot to park. But if I take public transport, I just walk to my house to the bus stop, take the transport, get to the city center, and then can go right where I have to go. I don't have to worry about parking or paying for parking, paying for gas, any of that. So by not owning a car, I have no car payment, no car insurance, no gas, and no maintenance. That comes out to be about $600 to $700 saved every single month. Now, it doesn't feel like some dramatic savings month to month, but it is pure surplus. This money can go straight into investments, savings, or improving my lifestyle. And what happens if you were to invest that instead? So let's say I invest that $650 per month that I'm saving by not having a car, and I'm investing it into a simple 8% annual return fund. Now look, after 5 years, I'd have $47K. After 20 years, I'd have $375K. all from money that used to just disappear into a car. So let's talk about apartment costs. So US rent when close to a major city is like $200,000 per month or more, especially Miami, San Francisco, New York. How about we look at Miami? Let's go to home type, apartment, bed and baths. This time, let's just look at studio pricing. Let's hit done and go to a suite area. Like let's go near Brickell or something. We're looking at $2,000, around $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, $2,500 a month. These are very pricey apartments. Here, about $2,000 a month. Inexpensive US cities like San Francisco or New York are not completely safe. I'm sure you've heard horror stories from time to time. And there's a ton of drugs and just nonsense in these cities. And when I brought my European girlfriend to New York City for the first time, she imagined it to be some amazing, magical place. But let me tell you, she was pretty terrified when she was there. It was nothing like she imagined. Of course, she liked seeing the Empire State Building and some tourist attractions. But when she was simply just walking on the streets, she was pretty terrified. Now let's take a look at apartments in Madrid, Spain, for example. 2,100 euros a month, 2,350 euros a month, 1,300 euros a month, 2,000 euros a month, and these are for solid looking places. And apartments in these European cities are in amazing walkable areas, great cafe culture around, amazing public transport, no need for a car. But Europe is cheaper than the US, but it's not super cheap, like somewhere like Southeast Asia. Say you want to go there, somewhere cheaper with great weather, beaches, pools, etc. So we can go ahead and look at rentals in Thailand. I'm gonna go to Airbnb, look at the price of rent for a month. Look, you can see amazing apartments for around $1,000 a month. This apartment is $672 monthly. Look at these places, absolutely beautiful. Place $672 again. Let's take a look at Indonesia as well. This home is $648 a month. Very clean, very nice. And of course, this is on Airbnb, so short-term stays are going to cost more. But if you're signing a contract for maybe even 6 months, you can get these prices down significantly. Now, I'm not saying you got to move to Thailand or one of these super cheap countries, but just to put things in perspective, let's take a look at the cost of living in Thailand versus the USA. So I'm going to open up this Numbeo.com. I love this cost of living calculator. So we can type in where we live now. Let's just go ahead and say Boston and then where are we comparing. So I'm going to say Thailand, here in Thailand. I'm going to hit compare and here we go. So let's look at it in dollars. So meal at an inexpensive restaurant in Boston, $25 per person. In Thailand, $4 a person. Meal for two at a mid-range restaurant, $120 in Boston, $32 in Thailand. You can scroll down, check the cost of groceries, fresh bread, fruit. Look how much cheaper the fruit is. Chicken, $6.19 for a pound in Boston, $1.11 in Thailand. You can see the average cost of rent, one bedroom apartment in the city center of Boston, $3,400 per month. That's a lot. In Thailand, $818. And moving to these cities is not just cheap living, it's efficient living. It's not dumping your money on useless crap living. Eating out, one of the sneakiest savings. So eating out abroad is noticeably cheaper in the US. Meals are cheaper before you even think about tips. Most countries don't even have tipping culture really, and it feels like a small difference, but it happens over and over again. And in the US, there's a big convenience trap. So the US is designed for convenience, and convenience is expensive. Everything is built so you can spend money without thinking about it. There's drive-thrus on every corner or apps to deliver food to your house just so you don't go to the grocery store, get those cheap groceries, and spend time cooking. And this all feels harmless because it's easy, but doing it over and over adds up fast. So let's take something normal, nothing extreme. Say you grab Chipotle or fast food once per day. The average meal is like $12 to $15, so let's call it $14 a day. So spending that $14 on Chipotle every day for 30 days is $420 per month. That's just on one meal per day, not even the coffee, snacks, or other drinks you might be buying. Now, how that looks abroad, for example, in the Czech Republic and Europe, in places like Czech, a good local restaurant meal is like $5 to $7, good quality, filling meals with no tipping culture. So let's say you're spending $6 per meal, $6 for 30 days is $180 per month. So that's the same habit, which is going out to eat every day, but very different costs. So this isn't about never eating out. I'm not telling you to go ahead and cook at home every night, don't enjoy restaurants. I'm just telling you when convenience is everywhere, you're spending without deciding. Being in a lower cost environment forces you to be intentional, and that's where the surplus comes from. So this is what savings can easily look like when you live in a cheaper country. So we already went over correlated savings, which would be about $400 to $600 per month. Then rent. You can live in a well-located apartment, which is like near cafes, stores, transport, in a really walkable area. with a lower base rent. You're not paying a premium to live in a big city that's well known in the US. And for this apartment, you're probably paying anywhere from $800 to $1,000 per month, maybe a bit more if you're in a nicer part in Europe. And then food and tipping savings. So you're going to cheaper restaurants without tipping culture, and eating out feels normal, not stressful. You might be spending $300 to $400 on eating out, which is still a lot, but much less than you'd be spending in the US eating out that frequently. Then miscellaneous lifestyle savings, cheaper services, less convenience spending, fewer random expenses, maybe $200 a month. For example, when I was living in South America, I could go down to the laundromat, give the woman working there my clothes, and she would wash them and dry them for me. If I were to do that in America, first of all, I don't know if that exact service even exists, but if it does, it would probably cost a lot of money. So let's say we're making at least $4,000 or $5,000 per month online, whether it's through a job or an online business, we'd be looking at probably around a $2,000 per month surplus or more. Now let's talk about where that $2,000 even goes. So when I create an extra $2,000 per month in surplus, the most important thing is what I do with it. The money doesn't sit idle, it gets routed intentionally. So that $2,000 goes to investments and savings for me. It does not go to buying a new car or buying some dumb luxury items like some new shoes or a Gucci hat. My portfolio is built for consistency, not hype. So I'm not trying to go all in on one thing, one big crypto coin or one big stocks or even a few stocks. I split my money across a few buckets so I can stay consistent. To me, consistency matters much more than perfect timing. First, I have long-term mutual funds. The biggest chunk of my portfolio goes here. These are long-term mutual funds that are boring on purpose, but they're built for compounding over the years. So this is the foundation. It's not exciting, but it's reliable. So this is where most of my monthly investing goes. I'm a young guy, so of course I gotta be in Bitcoin. I also allocate part of my money into Bitcoin. Long-term mindset, not traded frequently. It's treated like a high risk, high upside asset. I don't rely on it, but I want exposure to it. And then I also invest a smaller part of my portfolio into individual stocks. Here are some of them. Of course, these are higher risk, higher volatility, has a pretty similar risk profile to crypto. And again, this is not the core of my portfolio, it is an add-on. Then I also have a high yield savings account, even though it's only like 3.7% APY. So not everything's getting invested, as you can see. I keep money in this account, so I always have a rainy day fund, liquidity, and just to help with peace of mind. And because my expenses are lower, I don't hesitate to invest. I don't need to stress about timing the right investments, and I don't skip months on investing. Investing becomes automatic instead of emotional. I have it set up so automatically every month a certain amount of money goes from my personal bank account to my investment account. Then if I want to go ahead and invest more money that month, of course, I go ahead and manually send over money from my bank account, whether it's my personal bank account or my business account, to my brokerage account. Let's take a look at the annual impact. So if you're saving $2,000 per month for 12 months, that's $24,000 a year saved. Here's where this really compounds. If you invest that surplus every month, around $2,000, into long-term investments, earning around 8% annually, the numbers really get serious. After 5 years, you're looking at about $150K. After 10 years, $360,000 plus. Now, that's without any increase in income. No hype, no risky bets, and you're not timing the market. Just consistency, structure, and time. And this is how investment portfolios can grow realistically, not from one big moment, but from decisions that make surplus automatic. So lower expenses create surplus, surplus fuels investing, and investing compounds quietly in the background. Now, this is the long-term effect of changing where you live, not just how much you earn. Here's a graph to put things into perspective. Remember, if you're investing $2,000 a month every month, after year 5, if you're getting about 8% returns per year, you'd be at about $145,000, and your principal invested would be about $120,000. And that's only 5 years. That's just a few years of compound interest, not much at all. But I seriously gotta tell you about some of the mistakes I made along the way, because there's many. Mistake number 1, choosing location based on vibes, not lifestyle fit. So early on, I picked a country because it sounded exciting, cheap, exotic, was popular on YouTube, popular between friends. What I didn't think about was how easily it would be to meet people, whether there were other online earners around, and how isolated daily life might feel. So I learned quickly that a cool country can still be lonely if the social structure doesn't fit you. A place can be cheap and beautiful and still be the wrong environment for growth. Mistake number 2, going completely solo without a social anchor. When I first went to Colombia, I didn't know a single person. I didn't have any friends there, I didn't have any network there, and the first days felt exciting, maybe the first 1 or 2 days. But then it hit me. I was working working alone, eating alone, and that kind of isolation compounds fast when you're an online worker. I realized freedom without connection isn't freedom, it's just isolation in a new place. I really underestimated how important community is. I thought independence meant doing everything myself. I didn't think I needed other people. This was a big mistake. Being around other people with similar goals normalizes your lifestyle, makes you feel less weird and awkward for like working online, traveling the world, and it accelerates learning without forcing it. So once I finally found people like me, everything changed, not just socially, but mentally. Mistake number 4, not thinking long-term while making short-term moves. I focused too much on where is cheap/fun right now. I didn't think enough about where I could see myself long-term, where relationships could form, where life could actually compound. So the goal isn't bouncing forever. I don't know about you, but I certainly don't want to be going from country to country testing out the best place to live. The goal is clarity. Living abroad should help you narrow your future, not delay it. Mistake number 5, not planning social exposure before I travel. I didn't plan how I'd meet people. I assumed I would just meet them naturally, and now I understand you need environments where friction is removed. You need to be able to meet other people naturally, be in those right environments. So for example, when I go ahead and go to a new city, I'll type in an online business chat that I'm in, hey, I'm going to this city, does anyone want to meet up? For example, when I went to Germany, I typed in the chat, I'm going to Germany next week, who wants to meet up? And people in the chat with similar lifestyles and goals responded in the chat that they wanted to meet up and meet. It was great. I met them and we became friends. Then when I went back to Germany for the next time, I met up with those same people because they were already a connection. So being in environments like online business group chats or staying in the right hostels can help you meet people when you get to a city for the first time, so you feel less isolated and you are less isolated. Mistake number 7, thinking cheap automatically meant better. Some places are cheap for a reason, but they might have bad infrastructure, poor internet, limited social life, and few ambitious people. Cheap only matters if your income stays stable, your focus improves, your quality of life increases. Otherwise, cheap can become costly in ways money can't fix. But all these mistakes taught me that freedom without structure creates chaos, cheap without community creates isolation, income without environment limits growth, and living abroad isn't the hack, doing it intentionally is. Now you might be thinking you want to go abroad for 1 month to test it out. Now living abroad for 1 month helps, but living abroad for multiple months can change everything. So a single month mostly feels like an extended trip. You're still settling in, you're still adjusting, you're still in visitor mode because you're learning the city, learning where everything is, seeing what types of people live there. The real benefits start when you stay longer. Why multiple months make a huge difference? So when you live abroad for 2 to 3 months or more, you start to build real routines. You stop spending like a tourist and going to tourist spots. You start living like a local, and your costs stabilize instead of fluctuating. When you first get to a new city, you might be spending a lot those first few days to go on tours, go to cool bars or restaurants with new people, or simply buying overpriced items because you don't know what's overpriced and what's not since you're so new to that currency. But even a few months abroad can put you ahead financially. You don't need to move permanently, but if you spend even 2 to 4 months per year in a cheaper country, your annual expenses can drop meaningfully, your investable surplus increases, and you create momentum instead of just saving a little. And these months alone can move you years ahead financially, especially if you're investing it into a portfolio that's getting like 8% a year. Networking can be great in some cities abroad, and some cities abroad might not have the best networking. For example, when I was in Dubai, the energy was awesome. It seemed like everyone around you was trying to make money or advance themselves in some way. Even when I was talking to the taxi drivers, they seemed ambitious. Other countries, for example like Italy, I didn't get that vibe at all. But the very popular cities around the world attract online business owners, remote workers, investors, entrepreneurs, and it's not by accident, but it's because these popular cities around the world offer high quality of life, lower costs, and walkable cities. So if you're going to cities that are popular for tourism, they also are probably going to tend to have events, meetups, or co-working spaces for digital nomads or online workers. Many people are just passing through the city, but many are also staying long enough to build real connections. And why does this beat just a 1-week vacation? And this isn't just about money. In my other video, I explain how leaving the US upgraded my life in ways I didn't expect. Safer cities, better daily life, better people around me, etc. I broke down exactly how leaving America upgraded my life. Click the video on the screen to watch, or click the top link in the description because I'll have the video linked there.